Good morning. Good morning. Who's joined? All right. I see names. Sakshi is joined. Renuka has joined. Kiran has joined. Good morning. All right. Um, so yesterday, what did we study? Any idea? What did we study yesterday? Any idea? Yes, people. What did we study yesterday? We studied something called strategic management. What we are doing now. Let's see what's the difference. I don't know why my PPT is not getting uploaded. Anyway, I will speak, but just let me check. In my Google Drive. Just give me a moment. All right. What did we study yesterday? We saw how strategic management, planning of strategic management, formulation of policies. We saw the vision mission of the country. Now, the most important thing today, we will see what is the difference between strategic management and operations. Are they same, or is strategic management dependent upon operations management, or is operation management dependent on strategic management? Am I clear? Okay, just a moment. Meanwhile, I don't know why my PPTs are not getting. One moment, huh? I have to open my Google Drive. Just bear with me. No. All right. Not an issue. Okay. So the difference between when I'm taking the class, we see that everyone has a book and a notebook and a pen in front of them. So if I'm talking something, you feel it is important, please note it down. Once again, just let me try sharing the screen, and if I can get my Microsoft. One moment, please. No, not at all. One moment. No. Nevertheless, today we'll take the class without a PowerPoint presentation. I don't know stuff like that. So what's the difference between the strategic management and operations management? Let's begin. Now, strategic management, it deals with the overall organization. That means each and every department is considered under the gamut or under the roof of strategic management. So here, strategic management will deal with how many people are there, what are the resources we have, how can we distribute resources among the different departments in order to succeed. Now, where we have to succeed, of course, we have got our competitors. The first two lectures, I was speaking about SWOT analysis. So, SWOT analysis always tells us our strength, weakness, operations, and threats. So according to that, we are going to allocate the resources because we want to be the best among the best. Operational management, on the other hand, it deals only about the operations of a particular department, like how work can be done by the employees by forming a team or group. All right, by forming a team or group. In the other aspect is strategic management goes for a long-term planning. As I said, 5 to 10 years or beyond that, goes for a long-term planning. Operations will only decide for a few years or maybe for a few months. It is a short plan. Now, whenever the top management is into strategic planning. The strategic planning or the strategic management process will be a very balanced it will be a very balanced project. That means justice will be done to all the departments which are functioning within the organization. So what happens because of this? When there is a balancing act, people are clear about the vision statements. They start increasing their creativity. They believe in the process of continuous improvement, and they develop this ability to predict the future. The What is operational management doing? Towards the other hand, operation management, see, operations, the word operation itself tells us that they have to be practical, and they will be always in the process of helping the strategy to be successful. Now, the strategic management deals with the internal environment and the external environment. Now, what is the internal environment? The internal environment is the employees, then the policies of the organization, the resources of the organization. External environment can be the policies which are being put down by the government from time to time. They can be the stakeholders. They can be something which is outside the organization in simple language. Now, when strategic management considers the internal and the external environment, what it is helping us, why we consider the internal and external environment, because this will help to judge the performance of the organization. Then operational management will always consider only the internal view, because operation management becomes a small part of the organization. They will consider only the internal view, and when the internal view is considered, the responsibility of the manager there, operations manager, becomes really limited. That is, he has to take care of only one department. Strategic management will always talk about the vision and mission statements, and therefore, the questions which strategic management puts forth is, what are the capabilities of this person? Does he has the capacity to do that work? So strategic management will always deal with the competency mapping, core competency. Then what strategies we should have in place, right? What best we can give to the customers. Operation management will answer, operation management will consider, okay, now if I have to manufacture a pen, how do I manufacture this pen? How will I take care of my business operations process? And in what way I will carry out my business operations in order to run the business successfully and in order to achieve the targets given by the top management from time to time. 1 minute, again, I'm still trying to share my PPTs. One moment. Please. 1 minute. I'm able to share it. Just give me a moment, please. One minute. I'm just trying to show you something. Can you see this? Can you see any of my PPTs, please? Can you see any of my PPTs?
No, ma'am.
No, no, there is some technical problem. Nevertheless, all right. No worries. All right. Uh, we'll continue. Okay. And strategic management will consider the overall organization, and operational management would consider only a specific area. For example, Nupur, you're there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Nupur is there. Now, after Nupur finishes her SIP, when it's Nupur, is for the entire group, all right? She's handling the HR department. So for her, the HR department becomes a smaller part of the entire organization. So what she will see how the HR is functioning, how a department is taking care of the employees. So she will take care of all the roles and responsibilities and the duties which are assigned to her department. For example, Renuka, Ishika, these girls are with finance. The finance department becomes a part of the entire organization. So they will see that finance department is functioning properly. There are other students who are dealing with marketing. So marketing becomes their areas of interest. It becomes their department. So they will take care of their department. And all these departmental heads will report to the top management and they will form the strategies. Is it clear? What is the difference between strategic management and operations management? Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Only
Yes, ma'am.
okay. Now, what is the difference between a strategy and a tactics? Can anyone tell me? Can anyone tell me difference between a strategy and a tactics? Who frames a strategy? Who frames a strategy? Anyone? Yes? Who frames a strategy? All right. Nobody's answering. Who frames a strategy? Nupur went mute. Who frames a strategy? Students, please answer. Otherwise, I don't know whether you are getting it or not. Who frames a strategy?
Ma'am, managers.
Okay, top management. And tactics, by any chance? Okay, top management's frame strategies. All right. And tactics would be framed by lower level management. So strategies are framed by the top management and are and how will be the cascade of the information? It always comes from the top management to the middle level management and to the low management. Tactics are designed by the lower level management. Strategic problems are unstructured in nature, means any problem can come anytime. So always remember the planning is according to the worst case scenarios. What bad can happen? Okay, what worst can happen? Accordingly, the planning is done by the top management. The tactical problems are mainly structured in nature. For example, Nupur is handling the HR department. So, what problems as an HR Nupur will face at her department level? Yes, Nupur? Nupur? Nupur is not answering. Okay. What problems can be faced at an HR department? An employee comes and tells, ma'am, my leave is not granted. My salary has been deducted. So these are not structured, these questions can come to you any time of the month, any day of the month, any time of the day. The person coming with this issue can be a female employee, can be a male employee. So these are uh, more structured in nature because they are related only to they are they are they are related only to one department. Strategies are developed for long period of time, as we saw in the first lecture. Tactics are framed for short period of time because it is limited only for one department. Then, where we talk about strategies, We are, as we said, they are for long term, so they will always focus also on the future plans of the organization, like where I have to lead my organization, what path I have to follow the organization. And tactics are concerned with more of the day-to-day problems which arise in a department. And it is their respective departmental heads who are going to solve these issues, because they are very small, they are very structured, because you know in HR department what types or type of issues can arise. It is issue related to leaves, salaries, employment engagement, promotions. So you know these issues can arise. But when we talk about an organization on the whole, right, we can have issues which we have never expected. Therefore, always the planning will be according to the worst case scenarios. What worst can happen? The top management will always plan in this way. Okay, now tactics are generally free from personal values as they are framed through strategic decision making. Now, free from personal values means what? They're not influenced. You know, any departmental small problems in the department are not influenced. But at the top management, yes, the personal values play a very important role in framing the strategies. Now, let's see another point of difference. Now, these three differences, what I am taking, they're very, very important from the examination point of view. Is it clear? Is it clear? Yes, no, maybe. Am I clear?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Only Nupur is talking today. Where are the others? It's only Nupur. Yeah, Nupur. Where are the others? Where are the others?
Ma'am, there are 22 participants in today's meeting actually.
All right. But none of them are talking. Why?
And ma'am, I'm on bike and I also can't answer you now
Oh,
because I have to stop and answer. That's
okay,
why.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Not an issue. And what about the others? What about the others? All right. That's why I'm not showing you a PowerPoint presentation. It is not opening. I have got some issues at my laptop, but nevertheless, I'm just taking a very light topic today. Then the difference between a strategy and a policy. Now we saw the difference between a strategy and a tactics. Now I will talk about policy. What is a policy? A policy will always guide the employees for operations and for decision making. Then secondly, a policy is just will just instruct in work. They will tell you about how to do the work. They will tell you about those activities in the organization which are repetitive in nature. You know, you're doing every day. For example, again, I repeat, we all are going to join, you all are going to join some organization. So your attendance needs to be taken every day. So what does the HR say? Yes, whenever you enter the organization, you have to punch in your you have to punch in your biometrics. That is how we mark the attendance. Now see, it is a policy and you have to adhere to that policy. You have to follow that policy. Then policies are formulated by the top management for the day-to-day activities. Like the policies will always tell you the do's and don'ts. Okay, you have to punch in on the right time, right? You have to sign the register. Then you have to go to your desk, and the first thing is you have to log in because your login timing goes on the server, right? Whenever you take a break, you have to punch in. When you go to the corporate, yes, I am going to lunch at say 12:54. You have an half an for the lunch. So by that clock which is on your laptop, on your desktop, you will start functioning according to that. So that becomes a corporate policy. Then policies are formulated by the top management, as I said, for the day-to-day activities. Then it becomes, once the top management gives you the policies, it becomes your job, it becomes the responsibility of your subordinates as well as you to implement those policies if you are in that respective organization. And when you start following these policies, you don't have to involve the top management. When you are rolling out the policies, always use the word rolling out the policies. The top management has given you the due to what you say the list, and then you have to roll out the policies, you have to start implementing the policies. Now policies are always based on the thought process of the top management. Now what do you mean by thought process? Okay, what type of organization we are having, whether we are having an automobile organization, either we are having a manufacturing sector, or we are having an auto ancillary industry, we are having a FMCG, or we are having a service related industry called as a BPO, or we are having an e-commerce platform. Depending upon that, there will be the policies made by the top management. All right. Now see, policies are made by the top management, policies are implemented by the middle management and the lower level of management. That means you start following the rules. Then now why we say policies are important? Because the policies will always help us to achieve our objectives. Whatever the objectives are, okay, today I have to achieve this. For this, I need to follow this rules. Policies are formulated to take care of the operations and the day-to-day activities of the organization. So today I have explained you three differences: the difference between strategy and operations, the difference between strategy and policy, and the difference between strategy and tactics. These three questions are very important from the examination point of view. If you see your previous year's question papers, these questions are repeated. So humble request that prepare these questions very, very well. Any difficulty up till here? Any difficulty up till here? Please answer.
No,
Please.
ma'am.
Who is this? Please tell me your name. Mayur.
Mayur
Mayur?
both.
Yeah,
Huh.
Mayur. You're
Yes.
following what I'm trying to tell you, Mayur? Mayur, you understand the language I speak?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, any difficulty in the words I'm using?
No, ma'am.
If you find any word I'm using which you don't understand, please jot it in your notebook. And
Okay, okay.
when you meet me, you ask me the meaning of it. If you don't understand, please ask me, write it down in your notebook, or you can stop me and you can ask. All right?
Okay, ma'am.
Who else is there? Who else is there? All right. Now let's talk about the stakeholders. Now, what are the stakeholders? What are the stakeholders? Any idea? Who are the stakeholders? Who are the stakeholders? Who are the stakeholders? Anyone? Anyone?
Ma'am, the ones who have
The
shares
ones
of
who
the
have interest
company.
in the company.
Very good. A stakeholder is a person. It can be a group of person with an interest in the organization. Okay. They have the interest in the organization. So the stakeholders can be again divided into two types. They can be direct stakeholders or they can be indirect stakeholders. Now, some of the most important or the major stakeholders of the organizations are, they can be the owners of the company, then they can be the customers of the company, they can be the suppliers of the company, they can be the employees of the company. All right. So there is a strong bond between the stakeholder and the organization. Now, what I mean by there is a strong bond between the stakeholders and the organizations? Can you tell me? Hmm? Yes. See, a stakeholder has an interest in the company. All right, first point. Because of this, they can either affect the business, or they can also get affected by the business. See, there are two things. They'll affect the business, or they can also be affected by the business operations and the performance. Now, who are the typical stakeholders? The typical stakeholders can be investors, they can be the employees, they can be customers, they can be the suppliers, then we can have the governments, we can also have the trade associations, and we can have the other communities. Now, the entity of the stakeholder, okay, the entity of the stakeholders can be both internal and external to the organization. When I make this statement, an entity's what do you say? An entity's stakeholders can be both internal and external, means the stakeholder has a two-way relationship, or we can put it into other words, a twofold relationship between between the organization. So stakeholder and the organization. And what can the stakeholder do? Why do we make such statement? The stakeholder has the power to influence the decisions of the organization, right? Because he's investing in the company, he's a part of the company. If I ask you, Reliance is owned by whom? Who is the owner of Reliance?
Mukesh Ambani, Dhirubhai Ambani.
Yes, Mukesh Ambani. Who said Mukesh Ambani? Ishika? Mukesh Ambani. But if I say the owner of the Reliance are the stakeholders, the shareholders, will it be right? Will it be right?
Yes, yes.
Yes, because we are owning some part of the company, na? We are the shareholders of the company. So in the interview, if they ask who is the owner of Reliance, who will be the owner of the Reliance? All the stakeholders. So if you are having shares of Reliance, then you also become a small owner of Reliance. All right. The stakeholders will have the power to influence the decision making process. And not only the decision making process, but they can also influence, they can also take part in the policy formulation, the other activities of the organization. Okay, they are influencing, but indirectly even they can get influenced. Certain policies can affect them also, and that is the reason it is a two-way process. It is a twofold process. Now, who are the stakeholders? It can be an individual, it can be a group of people. Okay. Now, just see. Suppose if you're marketing a product, okay, an organization is marketing a product, and this policy is affecting the customers. And who it will affect? It will affect the customers, it will affect the employees, it will affect the suppliers. Suppose the cost of a product goes up, it will affect all of us, it will affect the organization, it will affect the industry, because they are going to put in more money for the raw material, right? They are going to put in more money for the machinery, right? They are going to make people work for long hours. Now, if they're making people work for long hours, then the people will say, oh, we want a hike in the salary, we want more incentives, right? If the raw material is going up, the supplier will say, oh, no, give me advance. The supply and demand is getting affected. Then, if you're going to go for the creditors will say, okay, show me the growth plans of the organization, show me a proposed plan as to how much you know profits you're going to earn. And the government, now how the government is going to increase the taxation, the government is going to change the GST slabs. So all this gets affected, and that is the reason it can be the relationship between the stakeholder and the organization is a two-way process. Now, if you're a stakeholder, if you're a stakeholder, what would you expect from the company? Yes? What would you expect from the company? Is a shareholder a stakeholder? Is a shareholder a stakeholder? Shantanu, can a shareholder be a stakeholder? Yes, they can be. So if a shareholder is a stakeholder, what can be his demands? He will demand maximum returns in the investment, right? And what type of returns it will be? They would like to have more dividends, like more bonus shares, then or more bonuses. If he's an employee, he'll demand more salaries, he will demand more incentives. Okay. Now this is one aspect. But what would the owners of the company do? Will they fulfill their demands easily? No, because they have other plan in mind. They would prefer in investing in the company, right? They would invest in the company so that they can work on the product, they can work for the development of the product, they can make the products more and more better. So on the other hand, the top management would invest in the R&D department of the organization and make the organization ready for the future. Now, what would happen if the money is going to the towards the R&D? What will happen if the money is going to the R&D? Suppose the organization, the stakeholders say, "Oh, we want 500 rupees as a rise in salary," but the organization is putting 300 rupees to R&D. So how much they can pay the stakeholders? Internal stakeholders, they will say, "Okay, now we are giving you 100 rupees rise in your salary." All right. So a stakeholder has to take the 100 rupees and sit quietly because the other finances or the money is invested for the future of the company. So the management says, organization will grow, you will also grow. So this is has to be done it in a very, very properly balancing act. We have to see that the company is growing and the stakeholders are also happy. Because the growth of the company, the future of the company, what we call as strategic management, is a long-term plan. Is a long-term plan. And whenever we talk about a long-term plan, it is going to be long-term investment. Are you getting? Have you followed up till here? Have you followed up till here?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. I don't know why my PPTs are not opening. I will show it to you tomorrow. I'll show you to you tomorrow. One moment. If you can't see the PPTs, I can see it here, but I'm not able to share it. One minute. Just give me one. Okay. I have made a strategic management module for you. It's a very beautiful one, but I cannot unfortunately share it today. Never mind. I will give you these. Okay. I have put. You know what? In my PPT, I have made a chart for you people or as a global level strategy also, which includes multi-domestic, international, global. It's a good one. It's a you should have this knowledge. Then I've made one corporate strategy for you. Lots of things. Then I have defined the characteristics at different decision-making process. Uh, One moment. Okay, okay. Mhm. No, see how it works for you people also. The moment I finished one topic, pertaining to that topic, I will put a small case study. Okay, it will be mostly the weekends. So will put it on the college website, a small case study. You need to just go, you need to read it once or twice. So you'll understand what you're reading, and then accordingly, as and when we get time, we will sit and discuss that, because that is very, very important. Practical implications of what you're studying is very important from the your interview point of view, right? I know you all are going to do all well in your exams, but from the interview point of view, from the technical know-how, you need to know these things. Hmm? Okay, I don't know, something is wrong. I need to ask Mohit sir about it. Then we have there are two types of stakeholders, as I said. One is the internal stakeholders and one is the external stakeholders. The internal stakeholders are the shareholders, they're the workers, they can be the employees and the management itself. You know, Infosys was the first company which had come with the option of employee stock options program for its employees. So, as a reward and resolution program, they had given their best employees some stock of Infosys. So they make them the proper stakeholders of the company. And this was done by Infosys. It was started by Infosys, if I'm not mistaken, maybe in the year 2007, to be more precise. I'm just telling you the tentative dates. I will just cross verify. It had started in 2007, where Honorable Mr. Narayan Murthy had come up with the idea, and Apla Neelkant Pai had come up with the idea that in order to honor their employees, right, as a reward and resolution, they will give them the employee stock options, ESOP. Good to know information. So there are, as I said, internal stakeholders. We have three. One are the shareholders, one are the employees, and other is the management. Now, external stakeholders can be who are outside the organization, but indirectly associate with the organization in terms of buying the product. So we can have the customers, we can have the suppliers who are supplying us raw material, we can have the creditors who are investing in the company, provided they are confident, yes, the company is going to grow, there is future of this company, and he is going to get good returns. Then we have the competitors, competitors of the company. Can you tell me any competitor? Same product, any competitor, please? Same product, but two different brands. Yes?
Pepsi
Anyone?
and Cola.
Pepsi, okay. Pepsi and Coca-Cola, very good. Who was this? Vaishnavi? And anything else? Anything else? Anything else?
Britannia and Palde.
Okay, Britannia and Pale. All right. Anything? Anything? We can see Gemini Oils and Marico, that is Saffola, Quaker Oats and Saffola Oats. And what else? And what else? We can have very two big competitors, Procter and Gamble and Hindustan Lever. Procter and Gamble is manufacturing Pantene shampoo. Hindustan Lever may manufacture Sunsilk shampoo, right? Then we have Colgate toothpaste and we have the Dabur Lal. So what are these basically? They are the competitors. The product is more or less the same. The functionality of the product is the same. Like, okay, toothpaste, we all use toothpaste in the morning. All right. So side by side, you should also study who are your competitors, what are they doing, what are they heading, and for that reason, we have the SWOT analysis. Then we have the government, because the government is regulating and formulating the policies at a very, very macro level. And one of the main responsibilities of any organization is to follow the rules and regulations or the policies which are made by the government from time to time, and hence the strategic formulation would also be keeping in mind the view of the policies. Then, now when we talk about policies, the tax policy plays a very important role. Yes or no? The management can affect and also get affected by the taxes, the laws, the duties imposed on the business. Anything you can say where the taxes have increased? Yeah, any example? Any example? Now, what the government has stopped imported to US, we have stopped those imports. Sorry, we have stopped the exports. We were exporting one, what do you say, item or thing to USA, and now we have stopped. And because of that, the cost of that product in in US has gone up. It has risen. Any idea? Any idea? The current scenario? It has just happened last month. The Indian government stopped exporting basmati rice. We stopped giving it to the US. So the cost of rice in USA has gone up. Management can also affect and in turn also get affected by the taxes. Now, how does the management in turn help the government? It will help by doing a proper trade, right? You call it as a fair trade, paying the taxes on time, and not indulging in any malpractices. Now, malpractices means, oh, you're not paying tax to the government, right? Your facts and figures are not right in your balance sheet. There are too many adjustments. These are the malpractices. Then, most important point is the community. Community in which the organization is living or the organization is existing in that community. Now, what happens? See, certain big companies take the CSR activities. Why do they take the CSR activities? Because somewhere down the line, they are using the environment. They're using the community, indirectly. So, for example, if you have a manufacturing company and they are, yes, they have to contribute because suppose they're throwing their waste in the waters, then they need to pay something for that, no? Because you're using the environment, right? So the management is responsible for educating and informing the society, and they should also help in helping the community to come up. That is, the standard of living of the community to should go up. For example, Infosys does lots of its CSR activities in Karnataka. So the Infosys Foundation, which is headed by Honorable Mrs. Sudha Murthy, she has turned the local schools there, at least 1,000 local schools there are smart schools. All right. So this is the CSR activity which is being done by Infosys. Now, as a small assignment, I want you to make a note of the CSR activities which are carried out by the Tata Group and the Reliance Group. All right. Yes. Did you hear me? The CSR activities done by Tata Group and the Ambani Group. This is going to be your this question is going to help you to increase your knowledge base. So if tomorrow, if you are having a debate or if you are having a GD or if you are going in a group interview and if they ask you, you should know to answer this. So the organization should always
What Tata Group and
Reliance. We'll go for two industries. All right.
okay.
At least read it. At least discuss. It will hardly take 5-10 minutes. So the organization should function in such a way, and they should have such measures that they cannot harm the society, like putting hazardous waste products into the rivers, or they don't have a proper chimney, so all the poisonous gases are coming out in the environment. Now this becomes of the stakeholders. Now see, after all, stakeholders are also human beings, right? At some point of time, they may also be facing certain problems. Now, what are the problems? Right? The first is the relation between the company and the stakeholders. So we need to have a proper balance of relationship. Like it always has to be a win-win situation. Neither the stakeholder should suffer nor the organization should suffer. Now, how they are going to interact, how the stakeholders and the organizations are going to interact within the systems. Now, within the systems means within the business systems. Now, this has to study, okay, the stakeholder will study how is the culture of the organization, right? And how is the group dynamics of the organization? How do culture is there and how do the people function in the organization, right? Then how the stakeholder is going to take part in the decision making process. Is he going to make the decision making process complex, or is he going to be easy, or is he going to be a go getter? Okay, no worries, this policy suits for me, stakeholders also, and this policy suits for the organization also. So collectively we can implement this policy which will favor both the stakeholders as well as the organization. So relationship building and trust building is very, very important. Then second is the communication. Now communication, as you know, if you are not going to commute, you won't be in a position to understand each other. So communication will play a very, very important role, due to which they will have exchange of information, they can have exchange of suggestions, they can have exchange of views. Now, communication can be of many types. It is not important that you have a face-to-face communication. You can have an indirect communication. Like you can use print media for communication. You can use emails for communication. And the communication should always be open. It should always be open, because communication is a thing which you can sit across and solve your problems. If you're not going to talk, right, there may be certain stakeholders who are adamant, who are hostile, who will not listen. But what happens? Your skills in communication will play a very, very important role. And what is that skill? You have to communicate the stakeholders in a very, very effective and in a convincing way. All right. So you have to keep your doors of communication, your channels of communication open to the stakeholders, so that no stakeholder becomes hostile, and you can avoid any problems. More than avoiding a problem, you can stop that problem from entering the organization because of the communication skills. Then the other thing is the leadership styles and the leadership qualities. Now, every organization will have its leader, and the leader will channelize and guide his organization to the right track, to the right path, so that the vision, mission, and the objectives of the organizations are achieved. All right. Now, vision statements and mission statements, we have seen it. So, the leadership style and the levels of commitment. Now, what do you mean by levels of commitment? We always talk a level of commitment, but commitment comes only with discipline. So, the primary focus of the leader will be putting all his team, the entire team, into a self-discipline mode. All right. Then, now see, we cannot say that the stakeholders in the company will have the same mindset, right? Every stakeholder will think in a different way. So what you need to do is you need to collaborate with these stakeholders, right? And you will set their behavior in place, right? Behavioral, the person's behavior matters more to the organization. So you will convince them, you will have open doors of communication, set the behavior in place so that the organizational objectives are fulfilled. So, in order to do this, there has to be a strong relationship, there has to be a strong bond between the stakeholders also, and between the stakeholders and the organization, so that we can face whatever the challenges are coming in the way of organization. All right. So more the stakeholders, better for the company. Then perception and impact of the stakeholders. What does it say? Now, what do you mean by perception? Perception is how you look at things. How you look at things. You can take a task in a positive way. You can think that task is going to make you learn new things. The task is going to increase your potential, or the perception can be a negative view. Oh my God, why I have to do this, right? It is not my job. That is negative perfection. So when a person perceives things negatively, he will remain in his comfort zone. So he won't be in a position to face the challenges. So with the positive perception, with the positive mindset, you can always overcome the challenges in the organization. And simultaneously, you will also tune your stakeholders to work in the same way. So when you have a positive perception, it will avoid many conflicts. It will avoid many arguments. Is it clear? Is it clear? Similarly, we can have, when we talk about effective communication, it tries to increase your standards as well, and it will stop having a bad effect on the stakeholders. Am I clear with this language? Are you following this English?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I've made it, trying to make it more simple, all right? Then motivation plays a very important role. The stakeholders have to be motivated every now and then. But for that, you as a part of the organization, even you always have to be in the self-motivated mode. Most of the times you have to be self-motivated. Now, why that motivation is important? The motivation is important because you need to align the values of the organization. All right. So three parameters will work. One is the values, one is the belief system, one is the effective communication, and all above that is the law of empathy. So we always need to motivate the stakeholders, because see, the stakeholders, the external stakeholders will always be worried. Oh, I have invested in the company. Hope I get good returns. Hope I get good dividends. Hope I get good profits. Hope the share prices, the share prices are increasing. So I earn a sufficient amount. So the stakeholders are always in this thinking of mode. Then two things, may, maybe, may not. They travel to these three aspects. So you, as a important part of the organization, it becomes your job to keep the stakeholders motivating, say that no worries. You have joined your organization, definitely you're going to get good returns. So you have to always keep it motivating. Side by side, besides that, you have to also pay attention to your own performance in the organization. You have to be a go-getter in the organization. You cannot forget your own goals. You cannot forget your own task in doing all this. Are you getting? So why stakeholders are important? What are the different types of stakeholders? Stakeholders are within the organization also. They're internal also. They're external also. Therefore, when we use the word stakeholders, it is a two-way process. It is a twofold process, because the stakeholders can affect the organization, and the stakeholders themselves also can get affected. Is it clear? Is it clear? Is it clear? Yeah? Anything else you need? Your voice is cracking, beta. Dikshita, your voice is cracking. Anything you have difficulty? Do you have a difficulty? Even if you have, I've told you best practices. Write down the points which you have not followed. Write down the words which you have not followed. And when you pay a visit to the college, carry the notebook and get your difficulties solved there and there with me. Okay. Okay. Any issues you're facing at your SIPs? Any issues you're facing with the SIPs? Please contact the faculty members. Again, I repeat, get it solved there and there. Don't pile up your difficulties. Your issues should be resolved instantaneously and promptly. Is it clear? Is it clear? Am I
Yes,
clear?
ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anything else you would like to know from today's session? Anything you have not followed? Please let me know. Okay. Yes. Now, thank you for joining. I'll be ending the session now. If you have anything, if you come to the college, come up to the placement cell and ask. All right. Okay.
Yes,
Chalo.
ma'am.
Okay. Chalo. Have a nice day. Thank you very much. Yes. Vaishnavi, how is your SIP going on?
Nice, ma'am. It's going well.
It's going well. You're doing in you're doing at Thermax, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. So you're liking the company?
Yes, ma'am.
You're liking the environment?
Yes.
Good. Ishika, what about you?
Yes, ma'am.
How is your SIP going on?
Well, ma'am. Well, going well.
SIP is giving you a platform to learn. So
Yes.
please be very serious about this. Anyone else is there or people have left? Okay. Chalo, all the best. See, the first topic is almost over. Now, what I'll do is I'll frame a small case study and I'll put it. I don't want you to solve it. I want you to read at least 5 to 6 times. I want you to understand the content, the words. And if you don't understand, I'm always there in the placement cell. Right? If I'm not in the placement cell, I'm taking a lecture. So wait. And again, I repeat, any difficulties in your SIP, don't sit quietly, come to the college and get it solved. Okay? Chalo. Thank you for the session today. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye. You all can. You all can leave.